have everybody that we thought we were going to have?
Mike Walkley here.
Okay. So welcome everyone to the March 11th, 2026 meeting of the Baltimore County Design Review Panel. This meeting is now called to order, and I am the chair of the panel, Joseph Yusufero. We'll start with a roll call to account for the members of the panel that are present on the call. When you hear your name, please say aye. Mr. Sharma?
Aye.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good
Ms.
evening.
Sauce?
Aye.
Good evening. Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Thank you. Good evening. And again, I'm Joseph Yusufero, the chair of the panel. I'd like to review the agenda that I think everybody is seeing on the screen. Marta, have there been any changes to the tentative agenda as published and as we're looking at?
No changes.
Okay, great. So at this point, we'll go ahead and review the minutes from the December 10th, 2025 DRP meeting. So this question is to my fellow panel members. Through an email that was received on December 17th, 2025, you received draft minutes from the December 10th, 2025 DRP meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the draft minutes? Hearing no issues, so I would assume that everyone has had a chance to review the draft minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes from December 10th, 2025 DRP meeting? Again, hearing no corrections or additions. So if not, who would like to make a motion to accept the minutes as circulated?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Great. Thanks, Ms. Sauce. So there's a motion on the table to accept the minutes as circulated. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Mr. Sharma, thank you very much. All in favor, if you could come off of mute and say aye.
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 I don't hear of any opposed, so the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. So if I could ask everyone to mute their microphones, I'm going to go ahead and read an opening statement as it relates to the design review panel. Please allow me a couple minutes to get through this. So Title 4, Subtitle 2, Part 1, Sections 32.4.203 and 204 establish the design review panel. We use the acronym DRP. The DRP was established to encourage design excellence and shall act in a consulting and advisory capacity to the agencies involved in the process for reviewing development plans. The objectives for the DRP's assessment include spatial, visual, and functional relationship to the topographical characteristics, the natural and built features of the site, as well as the surrounding features of the site, visual and functional integration of streetscapes, pedestrian pathways, playgrounds, recreational amenities, and parks. Streets and sidewalks are laid out in a safe and convenient manner, and parking is a positive design element. Building, parking garages, and other structures are spatially and visually integrated and suitable to their surroundings in proportion, massing, and type of materials and colors, signage and other elements of urban design. And plant materials are selected and cited to define the site, provide a theme, frame a view, enhance architecture and street character, improve microclimate, provide transition between dissimilar uses, screen objectionable views and uses, and reduce noise levels and glare. In carrying out its duties, the DRP utilizes the guidelines, plans, and architectural principles in the Comprehensive Manual of Development Policies and/or the Master Plan, as well as other guidelines and regulations adopted into law. Certain areas of the county were designated by the County Council to require review by the DRP. The panel will provide a technical review of the proposed project. issues relative to zoning, setback relief, environmental and stormwater management, as well as traffic regulations, do not fall under the purview of the DRP and are regulated through the appropriate agencies responsible for those aspects of the development plan review process. The panel consists of 9 members. All are professionals with practical knowledge in the matters of design. For purposes of making a recommendation on a particular project, 3 members shall constitute a quorum. The attendance and comments of each member shall be recorded in the minutes, which shall be an open record and available, along with all documents submitted to the panel for inspection and copying by the public. There will be an opportunity for the community to offer comments and suggestions at the conclusion of the applicant's presentation. These comments will also be included in the written record of the meeting. When a speaker is called up to speak, please keep your comments focused on design perspectives within your allowed 2 minutes of time. And if you're speaking on behalf of a community group, you will be allowed 5 minutes. At the conclusion of the meeting, the Department of Planning will sum up the recommendations of the panel before a motion for a vote is suggested. Recent legislation has changed the panel's recommendations to be advisory on the hearing officer in the various county agencies, unless the hearing officer or agencies find the panel's actions constitute an abuse of its discretion or are unsupported by the documentation and evidence presented. Disposition of the plan will be determined as either approved as submitted, approved with conditions, or additional review with a second meeting being required. So thank you very much for allowing me to read the opening statement. At this point, we'll go ahead and take the first and only item on the agenda, which is a project at 7801 Roxwood Road in the RRL RAIA residential review area. If the presenter would please introduce yourself, please keep your presentation to within 15 minutes, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joe. My name is Joseph Lawrence Mikulski, aka Larry Mikulski. My wife Jane and I bought this property in November of 2025, just several months ago. And we looked at the property and fell in love with it and wanted to get it functionally up to neighborhood standards and to modern residential standards. In order to do that, we wanted to add, right now there is a bedroom on the first floor, but there's no attached bathroom to it. The bathroom on that floor serves the entire ground level. So we hired our own old friend and architect, David Gleason, to look at it. And he came up with a plan that really was driven by the topography of the property. And as you may know, there's some steep topo on the back, that is the east and the south end of the property. And we reviewed particularly the meeting notes from last year when Mr. Vogel presented basically a large, completely new structure. He was going to demolish this building and build a new one, which I believe the neighborhood found to be a little too large for their taste. And we wanted to find a solution, a middle ground that would not overwhelm the site, but would achieve our objectives and get it up to modern standards. So Mr. Gleason designed two structures, each of which has 400 square feet of ground floor area, and they are 2 stories. Those structures add 2 bedroom with attendant bath and closet areas. And then the easternmost additions will add 2 family rooms, and a game room in the basement area, now basement. They're connected by a 5-foot corridor from the old structure into the new facilities. That 5-foot area is what causes us to have to basically demolish the garage and relocate it forward 5 feet, projecting out towards Ruxwood Road. The property was never a recorded plat and never had a development plan attached to it, as it was created.
I'm sorry for interrupting, Mr. Weishaupt. Would you like me to share any particular slide? Because
Not yet.
I'm
Not yet, Marta. We're good. Thank you.
okay. Okay, thank you.
So, at the request of David Owens from Ruxwood Community Association, or Riderwood Community, John Kroc indicated that the zoning required 50-foot setbacks and 20-foot setbacks minimum, with a combined of 50 feet. That is front and rear 50 feet and sides of 50 feet. So the property basically sits there without the proper subdivision plat. Doesn't have the proper size for a DR1 zone. And as it's constructed originally, Marta, you can go to the next slide if you would. As it was constructed, it now sits as a non-conforming use to the zoning, and has been that way essentially since the zoning was placed in 1956, I guess. This slide shows the setbacks imposed on it by that zoning, and you can see that the majority of the house is in violation of those setbacks. This plat also shows the rear addition of 400 square feet and the addition to the south towards the Cahill property of 400 square feet. They are both 2 stories. So we essentially took advantage of the topo and filled those spaces in with usable square footage, thereby not disturbing as much of the ground as would have been necessary to get a normal 1,500 or 1,600 square foot of additional space. So that was the design element that drove it. This next slide will show you on an aerial where the green lines superimposed the 50-foot setbacks. The red areas are the property lines, and it is comprised of 2 lots. And you can see from these slides how it sits and how much smaller and older the facility is to the surrounding structures. So we tried to blend what the neighborhood wanted or didn't want. And they wanted good design, we believe, but they didn't want the new structure to overwhelm the property and to be a huge mass. You can see on this slide where the garage, that northwest slide, just, if you go back a little bit, Marta, right there, that garage was a carport, and the previous owner simply enclosed it, put a roof on it, which is really not a properly designed sloped facility to match the existing architecture. So we're going to take that down, take it off, build a new structure with appropriate slopes on that garage, and have those design elements tie into both structures. And you can proceed a little bit further, Marta. And these are simply pictures along Ruxwood Road. You can see how small the road is. It's a private lane. I found out yesterday that there really is no maintenance agreement other than a sort of word of mouth compact between the owners to maintain it and make sure that it's properly functioning. And you can see that property picture on the left is a shot from Ruxwood along the Cahill property, focusing to the east. Okay, Marta? Mr. Lewis's property is immediately to the north, and you can see the tree lines that exist. One of the previous development, Mr. Lewis was concerned that those trees would have been destroyed, and we're not going to get close to any root systems or to touching that landscaping. You can see again from the front pictures here that the roof line of the existing garage doesn't match the roof line of the present structure, and the excess parking areas, that macadam area where we have the red arrow, will be taken out and mitigated. And it will be mitigated by having a circular driveway swing around the front of the property. I'll show you along here. You can see the existing deck. There is a stairway from the back of the property into the garage, which goes to nowhere. Essentially, when the garage was, or the carport was turned into a garage, they just left it sitting there. So it's a lump of concrete. We call it the stairway to nowhere. And obviously that will all come out when the new structure goes in. The entire deck, including that brick structure, will be taken out, refurbished, new Trex materials, new hand railing with white horizontal lines on it. And we propose that the deck will be sent to the north towards the Lewis property to tie into double doors, which will exit from the new dining room, which will be immediately on the north end of the site. That is now the previous owner's bedroom. Okay, Marta, you can proceed if you would. These are the building plans that Mr. Gleason developed. The large shaded areas are the additional areas, and we tie in the existing structure to a newly constructed garage. And this is the first floor of that design, and then the second floor shows the roof lines. And those roof lines will carry through from back to front, that is east to west, and from north to south, so that it is a continuous and contiguous design element throughout. David, would you like to speak on these issues, if please, Mr. Gleason? Are you there? Apparently not. Okay. I'll continue on. The design shows here.
I did see him earlier. So could someone from the Department of Planning perhaps
He's
help
on
out
here.
and
He's on here. He's,
Yeah, he
he's
may be
unmuted.
muted.
Am I unmuted?
Okay.
No,
Can
you're
you hear
fine
me?
now.
There you go.
Okay. The intent was to be sympathetic to the existing gabled roof structure of a house. So what this does is you can look at and see that the buildings actually step down, and it's a series of gabled roofs that link one another, the existing house to the garage, and then finally to the new addition. And they recede as they go down. So the house becomes more part of the landscape. It is then sort of positioned into the landscape. As you can see in the back, the ground floor is the where the game room will be. And then also on that floor is a second bedroom and a bath. So the idea was that the house would be blended into the landscape, and that the roof would be continuous and it would step down with the landscaping, so that the house seemed to be more part of its environment rather than sort of rising up and becoming a much more significant element in the landscape. So that's where, that was the theory behind this. And as you can see, the highest highest ridge line is the existing house, and then the ridge lines of the addition step down.
We were asked the question of how high that rear structure is looking from east to west. And we've come up with about 26 feet from grade to the peak of that new structure. This shows the massing of the new facility, the new structures. And this is Shari DePasquale's landscaping plan, which we looked at. We incorporated catch basins from the roof for stormwater management mitigation going down into, I guess they're called catch boxes. We put in a 3-foot approximately Pennsylvania fieldstone retaining wall. We added additional landscaping, and you can see the curved driveway, which allows additional parking to get traffic and parking off of Ruxwood and into the property, but it removes the excess macadam to the right of the driveway going into the garage. The design elements are, as you can see on the left, this is the red siding that apparently was the original siding. It's a cedar lap siding. We took some off, we restored it, and we painted it the colors of the new structure, which is hardy plank, cobblestone, and Arctic white trim. We proposing Pine Hall Old Colony brick as the brick. It will have grapevine grout lines on it. We will match the existing roof shingles. We'll put, instead of a single garage door, we will have 2 garage doors as shown there. And we'll have all new downspouts around the house. So we think that the front, with the new garage doors, while it projects 5 feet closer to Ruxwood, is an improvement over the existing facility, and certainly the roof line is a major improvement. Of course, taking off the vinyl siding in and of itself is a major improvement, we believe. These are simply some examples of the Trex material that the deck can be. We don't particularly care. It'll be a brownish material, and the design elements that were shown on the original presentation, these boulders, for example, were found to be too large by the neighborhood. We did have a presentation to the neighborhood last week. They took notes. We responded to those notes, and we made several design changes, including to the interior of the master bedroom and to the exterior windows along Ruxwood. We also indicated that we would keep these boulders to another standard, a much lower and smaller Pennsylvania fieldstone rather than multicolored block. The windows will all be divided lights, and we think that those along the front We're simply going to replace them. We will have casement windows with multi lights along the deck and in the rear additions. David, you want to address that function, if you would?
Yeah, Mr. Gleason and Mr. Mikulski, let's try to, we have a lot of folks from the community, so to
Okay,
the
that's
extent
fine.
you can, let's try to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we're done. I mean, you can get the gist of what we're doing here.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. And overall, nice presentation.
Thank you.
So at this point, I see many folks online as attendees. So the floor will be open for any public input or feedback from the community. If you're representing, as a reminder, a community group, you will be allowed 5 minutes, and Marta will use the stopwatch. Those who do not represent a community and wish to speak, you will be allowed 2 minutes. I have been monitoring the chat, and it looks like several folks from Towson University perhaps monitoring this meeting from an urban design class. So that's great. My son is also a freshman at Towson, and I encourage any kind of learning there is. So thank you for joining. If anyone has questions, feel free to use the chat function at this point. So Marta or Brett or Sean, has anyone signed up to speak on the
I
project?
have it. It's my job, Joe, and we have two that I can scan from the list.
Okay.
Martha Cahill, who's a resident, and then David Owens will speak on behalf of the Ruxton Riderwood community. So Martha Cahill is first to speak, and she will have 2 minutes.
Excuse me.
you. Oh.
Excuse me for a second. This is John McSherry. We actually also signed up to speak.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. McSherry. I didn't see you in. Are you in the chat?
No, we can't get our video to work, so we're listening.
Okay, so you're saying you would like to speak?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. We will give you a chance to go after Mr. Owens.
Okay, so
Am
I
I
think I heard Ms. McSherry. Is that the name? I think you're first.
No,
Oh,
Cahill. Ms. Cahill
Martha
is
Sorry,
first.
Cahill. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And I would like to be the first to welcome you all to the neighborhood, the best neighborhood in Ruxton. We're right next
think so.
door.
Yes.
And I do have I'll just ask my questions and then jump off. So my main concern, because I've been told for the 28 years we've been there that we are the lowest point in the Ruxton area. So we take on a lot of water, and we have spent in excess of $20,000 to keep the water out of our home and off of our pool area and property. So anyway, my questions are like the downspouts. In the back, are they going underground to the back of the property? And then I see like the vertical downslope on the addition of the primary bedroom. Will that push water down to our drain area or to our
Yeah.
property? And then also, Steve Levinson was always very conscious of keeping his trees, the shrubs, trimmed back tight at the top of our driveway, because the sight line was, impacted when they were forsythia bushes, when they got thick and, so that they're my only, thoughts on the plan, but absolutely looks beautiful from what I have seen and reviewed. It's a
Great.
thumbs up.
Thank you, Ms. Cahill. And to the applicants, what I'd like to do, since there's several folks that are signed up, let's go ahead and get all the questions and comments out of the way. And then I'd like to give the applicants some time to respond to those. Thank you, Ms. Cahill. Let's go, Jennifer. Let's go to speaker number 2.
Yes, Mr. David Owens, on behalf of the community, requested to go next. Or I'm just calling them in the order of their requests. Please excuse
Sure.
my term or phrase.
Do I need to okay, am I muted or can you hear me?
We can hear
We
you,
can
Mr.
hear you.
Owens.
All right, thank you. So yeah, it's David Owens. I'm with the Ruxton Riderwood Lake Roland Improvement Association. We did meet with the neighbors and Larry Mikulski last Thursday, March 5th. It was about an hour and a half meeting. We think the plan to restore and renovate the existing house with a two-story additions is a good plan. I mean, I think it's a wise use of the site, especially considering all the 50-foot setbacks that are very restrictive. And the scale of the proposed houses seems appropriate for the site. It's much better than the one that was proposed last year that was way overbuilding on the site. So I assume if DRP approves this today, there's still going to be a zoning hearing that would be required for the 50-foot setback variances. And the neighbors did request that if it goes to a zoning hearing, that they put stakes out that show the two new additions, so that we can see the corners of them and actually in the front garage, because those are all pretty much in the setback, allowed setback area. So, so the original DRP submission that they presented basically was kind of sketchy and lacked a lot of details. So during our meeting, we went through a lot of concerns, and then they sent in an amended DRP submission, which did address a lot of those concerns. So we do thank you for that. And I assume you all have that. I don't know if you want to present that or not after we get through here, but that does, provide a lot more details. So a couple of them that we were concerned about on the front elevation in that master bedroom on the right-hand side of the addition, there was a kind of a blank wall. It just, that's it. There's a bathroom window on the left and then the bedroom window on the right. And so we asked to fill that in or put some additional fenestration in. They did show that with another window in this, sort of on the right-hand side there, and then they moved the bathroom window. I just think it needs to be it was a good attempt, but I don't think it's exactly right. I'm not an architect, but it seems like that could use a little more design. So that's one comment. The lattice work on the front columns on that elevation that showed a lattice work column, and it just didn't seem, strong enough or appropriate. So they did redesign that and put in some, I guess, wooden columns or, that composite material columns, and then a much nicer masonry step. So that was a good addition. There was a lot of concern about double hung windows versus casement windows. I think what my feeling is, and I think what we came up with as kind of an agreement, was that the double hungs should sort of stay on the existing house, and then the casement windows would probably be more appropriate on all the new addition work. So on the rear elevation, there was no real railing design shown of any consequence. And then in the amended plat, they did present a sort of post and picket style Trex type railing that looked very nice too. So that was a good addition. The exterior colors, it was hard to get a feel for them, especially on this drawing. You've got a red brick and then a cobblestone gray siding and then a gray sort of medium gray roof. And we couldn't really determine if it all blended together, but that just be another consideration that's worth looking at. On the landscaping plan, there was very little plant material shown. They did give us more plant material, but they didn't.
1 minute.
Okay, they didn't specify exactly what what trees were going where. We did ask for a additional screening on that retaining wall, on the other side of the retaining wall. That's because the McSherrys live right above that the rear terrace and look down on it. And so they were concerned about looking at that, and they needed, additional screening so that they weren't like pretty much living in their backyard there. So they did provide some of that. Let's see what else there's. The stone material, again, they mentioned that, Larry mentioned that they were big boulders, and a house on Ellingham put similar boulders in, and they were just way oversized. So I think they've adjusted that to Pennsylvania fieldstone. And then the stone stairs on the right-hand side by the master bedroom, they gave a detail on that, and that looked very nice too.
Mr. Owens, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Owens. Jennifer, we can go to the third speaker.
That would be Mr. McSherry. 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm just gonna have some comments. Everybody's house is in this neighborhood is sited such that it's not in direct view of each other. Right now, we kind of look directly at this house with little screening, and now they're even adding and making it larger and taller, and it just seems to be a little bit of overkill on our behalf. The patio design, there's a conflict between the drawings. The architectural drawings show it being roughly 10 by 20, and the landscape plan shows it being 15 by 20. So we'd like to get some clarity on that. Obviously, one of our concerns is the building right now is in violation of the setbacks. It comes closer to our property line, and by adding the patio / terrace where it is, even encroaches more towards our property line. And as David said, we feel like we're kind of in their backyard. So the landscaping on the west side of the building, we're not sure what type of trees they're proposing there. We saw a list of 3 or 4 different trees. They're deciduous trees. We'd like to see if they could, in addition, maybe add some evergreen trees to help buffer the building all year round, especially in the wintertime when there's no leaves on our trees and no leaves on their new trees. And that's pretty much the patio, the setback, the landscaping, and just
moving the terrace.
Oh, yeah. The last thing would be, because the building is outside the violation of the setback, and then you're adding on top of that the patio and terrace. We like to see if they can move that patio / terrace into the corner or the elbow of the new addition and the
Fine.
bedrooms.
Time.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. McSherry. Let's go to the fourth and last speaker.
That would be Mr. Robert Lewis.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
You got 2
Great.
minutes, Mr. Lewis.
Hi, thanks for putting this together. And I too would like to welcome you all to the neighborhood. As Martha said, it is a great neighborhood. And I appreciate you all being aware of all of the issues that we ran into with what the previous owners were intending to do, and downsizing the scope of the house significantly. And we all want to get along, and what you are presenting here looks wonderful. And I think it does go well with the scope of the property lines. And I think, to John's point, any landscaping that you can do to sort of mitigate other homes' views of the property would be helpful. And I'm sure you all intend on doing that. So thanks for the presentation. And the one last thing I would say is, it would be great if we could see sort of an artist's rendition of what the end product will look like. I'm sure it'll be a beautiful house, but it's really tough to sort of get a feel for it with just pictures of the various material you're going to use. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis. Department of Planning staff, does that wrap up the community feedback?
That's the last request that I see in the chat. I'm not sure if there's anybody else. I believe
Okay.
that's it.
Okay, that's it. All right. So we'll go ahead and officially close the public input period. and move on to the panel discussion at this point. I would like to just quickly respond to, I think it was Ms. Cahill, in terms of the drainage. So the drainage is not specifically reviewed by the DRP. It is reviewed by Baltimore County, both the Department of Public Works and Environmental Protection and Sustainability. And they have an obligation to review the runoff to associated properties. And they'll go ahead and confirm that they will not be increasing the runoff to the properties. So I did want to address that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and have a panel discussion. So I'd like to start with Mr. Anderson as the residential reviewer.
Thanks, Joe. I didn't know if you wanted the folks to respond to any of the community's comments. I thought that's where we were going, but you want to add these together?
I'd like to have a discussion between us. There may be some similar comments or actually comments that differ from the community.
Right. Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay. Yeah. So first of all, thanks for your presentation. Good presentation. I think the approach to the house is much more in line with what the community was looking for. So I appreciate the sensitivity that you guys gave to last year's submission and how you've approached it. I do have a couple of questions. I will start with the front elevation and a comment that Mr. Owens made about the right side. I had a similar comment. Yeah, just there to the right. So couple of quick things. One, the garage doors that you showed in your sample array of materials, they differ a little bit than what's drawn here. Are the ones that you're going to install the doors shown in the manufacturer's pictures?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they
Great.
would be.
But I think Mr. Owens was correct in sort of this right side elevation. And part of the problem is in the elevation, there's no landscaping or foundation landscaping shown. So it really, really, really exaggerates the impact of the brick foundation there at the side. And from the landscape plan, there's really no way to know exactly what landscape you're putting in there, and to what degree it'll hide that brick and that foundation and sort of minimize the nature of it. So I would like to see some better definition of what's going to go in there landscaping wise, but also I think, and I know the interior of the bedroom here is at play, but I think doing something with your window there at the corner and maybe treating it a little bit more like the other elevations would be appropriate. So I'd like to see if you could maybe address that issue as well, because it does kind of is not well matched to the rest of the house. So my other comment, if we can go to the rear elevation, you might have to blow that up a little bit, Martha. I just was looking for some clarification on a couple of things. You can go just sort of zoom in, if you will, sort of towards the addition there and the notes. Can you kind of clarify a little bit more on the finishes here? There's some differing notes. If you look at on the right side of the addition, it says match existing block finish, and then you have brick, and you're showing brick, in the red brick, but the existing house on the right has a sort of a off-white kind of finish. Can you clarify what you're doing there by way of finish and sort of
that the existing foundation completely around that house is now a parged concrete,
right,
white, and that entire surface will match the new brick on the additions.
So we
will reskin
okay
the areas in there.
All right, because the drawings don't really indicate that.
Yeah, he didn't. All right, David Gleason didn't show that as new, a new brick face, but that's what it'll be.
Right. Okay. And then where it says on the left-hand side there, where it says match existing wood siding, can you go back to your siding plan? I know you're taking all the aluminum off. I get that. Right. Can you just clarify some of that for me, please?
Well, if you go, there you go. You see this red siding. was apparently the original siding, and it is a cedar siding, 8-inch lap siding. We took these pieces that are restored, took them off, buffed them up a little bit, and painted them with the cobblestone and Arctic white trim colors, and that's what it came out to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can either get new cedar siding or more likely hardy plank, 8-inch hardy plank that will be painted the same color, and I challenge anybody to notice the difference. So that new hardy plank will wrap the new additions.
Okay, so the match existing is more about design intent of the new
Yes.
siding you're going to put on than it is literally matching the existing. Okay,
Right.
so there's a little bit of a note issue there. Okay, I would also ask just real quickly. Now, Mr. Owens mentioned something about a discussion about the windows and where you're going to have double hung and casement. Can you clarify that agreement that you guys came to, or at least the discussion you had with because I'm not really sure where that ended up.
Yeah. So I think Mr. Owens and the neighborhood wanted to see the 6 light double hungs along the front of the existing building and the side, I guess, towards Mr. Lewis's property. And we agreed to do that, all new, and they will be Marvin's. He indicated, and we asked for the transom windows. And I would like to bring in again David Gleason to address what he found in trying to put in new windows on the master bedroom and along the back end. So they will be multi-light windows along the back, but they won't be double hungs. We didn't propose to do that. We could do it on the existing structure. We went to a window retailer, and they said you really don't want to do that if you can along the deck area. But if necessary, we can do that. So right in here, the casement windows and doors are shown.
Mm-hmm.
David, would you address again how you handled the master bedroom front and the constraints that were imposed on the inside design and layout?
It all basically revolved around where the bathrooms are going, and the east side was the important side because that had the view. The north side faced Ruxwood, so it seemed reasonable to locate the plumbing and the bathrooms along that wall facing Ruxwood, which means that the number of windows there would be fairly limited. So that was the reasoning behind that. So it was meant to be a secondary elevation.
And how about the casements along the rear and the side there?
Well, I think the idea was that the existing building was all double hung windows.
Right.
And that the new addition, we would do casements there as a differential between the old and the new. So in the new additions, there would be casements. And in the existing building, the existing double hungs would be replaced with new window sash. So you would be able to tell what was old and what was new.
Great. Mr. Anderson, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
I would like to, since there were a bunch of questions on landscaping, I'd like to ask Sherry DiPasquale to jump in here with her design and her redesign and address.
Yeah, Mr. Mikulski, we have a landscape architect on the panel, so I'd like to wait for Ms. Sauce, and we'll pull all this together.
All right, great.
So, Joe, I only had one more comment, but I think it was addressed in the revision. Sorry, I was moving back and forth, and it was the landscaping in front of the retaining wall per what Mr. McSherry brought up. But it looks like you've added that, and I assume that'll be covered in the conversation we just referenced. So that's it for my comments. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's go to Mr. Sharma.
Good evening, everyone. So I had one comment which has already been talked by Mr. Anderson. So other than that, I don't have anything.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's go to Ms. Sauce.
Thanks, Joe. No pressure on being the landscape architect here. The schematic landscape plan in theory looks good. Can I talk about the revised presentation that I saw online, or is that not allowed? Or I didn't see the planting list that was
Yeah,
on.
we have the follow-up presentation, Joe. We have it ready to go. Do you want to wait until we get through all the panel comments, or do you want to bring it up now? We have the follow-up presentation that came as a result of.
Okay, so understanding that there were community comments that
Yes.
and okay, so let's go ahead and pull that up now,
Yeah,
and
we
then
sent that to you all earlier today.
let's allow I think it was Ms. DePasquale to go ahead and go through what those changes are, and Ms. DePasquale, try to keep it efficient at 5 minutes.
Okay. Can I see the landscape plan? And can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think Marta is trying to pull the file up.
Okay. So in response to the last set of comments that came in, we have added vegetation on the other side of the retaining wall, which is the arrow on the far right, to soften the look of that wall from those two residences that face it. And then we also added 2 more deciduous trees in the view toward the McSherrys. And the reason I chose deciduous instead of evergreen is because if you imagine what an evergreen looks like, it's triangular at the top. And since the McSherrys are quite a distance above this elevation, my thought was to get something with a lollipop shape higher up faster than waiting for an evergreen to grow up and fill that zone. So my thinking is to use something fast growing with big leaves. And yes, in the winter, those leaves do drop. But my argument would be at least you would have this diffused view quicker than if you did evergreens there. I'm certainly open to the McSherry's thoughts on that so that we can talk about that further. I also added evergreen shrubs, such as maybe even the skip laurel, which is very big and robust and deer resistant. On each side of the terrace, you can see those dark green blobs we put in there. So we're kind of squeezing in that view so it's hardly there, and then having these 3 bulky deciduous trees surrounding the terrace, hopefully doing the screening that we're looking for. And then the one note about the water issues to Ms. Cahill on the right-hand side, that wall is an effort. It does actually many things for us. But regarding the water, it levels the grade there between the house and the wall, so that thereby we're slowing the water. That's number 1. Number 2 is we are proposing dry wells. So the downspouts on that side of the house where all the water is going will go into an underground dry well, which will hold the water for a period of time, and then it'll gradually go into the ground plane. So hopefully, I'm pretty sure we have the water improved from its current situation and taking hopefully that right off the table. And then one last thing that Ms. Cahill said was down by her driveway, which is at the right-hand lower end of the drawing. I'm very conscious of how tight everything is on that lane. And you can see I pulled the bed back so that she has this much more open view, and the forsythia are going to be gone, and we're going to put in low stuff that will not block her view. I'm very conscious of that situation.
And Sherry, how about in front of the bedroom?
Yeah, so in front of the bedroom, as you can see, I have an evergreen anchoring that corner. So I don't know what that is yet. It's probably going to be a holly. We have to worry about deer in this world. And so I'm hoping also that we can lessen that grade a little bit by lifting that area on that side so it's not such an open expanse of architecture. And then those shrubs kind of marching along there, they're going to be big and robust, like 5 feet tall or more. So I'm hoping that the landscaping will soften that elevation.
Great. Thank you, Ms. DePasquale. Let's go back to Ms. Sauce for her comments.
Well, that was a really thoughtful presentation, and I appreciate the further explanation. You know, looking at the overall design, I like the organic flow of how the landscape seems to embrace or hug the house, and soften all the angular architecture. Marta, if you could go to the next page down, I think the plants. Oh, maybe one more. Sorry. Okay, one more. There we go. Um, Looking at the plant list, it looks like there's a lot of native consideration, which is great. I would caution not using the tulip poplar for those tall trees to screen the upper view, just because they tend to get broken wood, as you probably know, and I just think that they would look beat up eventually. So I would pick something with some structural branching to help screen in the winter time. And I like the combination of the deciduous trees with the evergreen shrubs below. I would like to see more evergreen shrubs on this list. I know this is just a sample. You know, I like the skip laurel, I like the boxwood. You know, it's a great start, but I'd love to see an expanded palette, or I'm sure when you go in for Baltimore County review, you're going to need an actual plant list. So just something to think about. But other than that, I think it's very thoughtful, and as long as you're working with the neighbors and the homeowner, it sounds like a very thoughtful landscape design, and I can't wait to see what it turns into.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Sauce. So as I round out the comments here, the easy part, or even the hard part about going last, is many of my comments have already been addressed. From a high level standpoint, I do want to acknowledge the tight space that the applicant considered here, right? The 50-foot setback around the property is very, very restrictive, and I do want to acknowledge the good work of trying to fit in that tight area. I also want to acknowledge the thoughtful landscape design as well. Clearly, there have been community meetings. There have been a lot of consideration given to what are the views and what will be the views in the future. And I do want to acknowledge that work because I know it takes time and I know it requires effort. So I just want to acknowledge that. They're my comments. Nothing to respond to. I do want to go back to the panel and remind the panel that we can do one of three things. We can approve the project as it is submitted. We can approve the project with conditions. Or if the comments are very major, we can say that here are our comments and applicants should come back to a second meeting. I would actually consider this being a second meeting already because of the previous submission, the feedback that has been given. So I would like to consider one of the first two options as approved or approved with conditions. But I'd like to open it up to the panel.
Joe, it's Fran Anderson. I just have one question from the landscape presentation that kind of came after my comments. Going back to the front elevation and that right side that we were talking about, I get the low point on that wall is the corner, and I did hear that from Miss DePasquale she's going to put in something that's going to grow a little taller. My question is, is it growing a little taller? How tall is it going to cover any part of that one window that is there, thereby sort of exacerbating the issue that we brought up with the right side elevation being sort of that very blank mass of wall? So if you could just respond to how that corner there would be improved by that, I would appreciate it, because I fear it's going to actually make the problem a little worse.
No, I think an elevation drawing is in order. If I literally can take the elevation of the architecture and sketch to scale what the shrubs would do, maybe a small tree is in order instead of just shrubbery. Are you worried that the shrubbery will be monolithic and therefore not pretty? Is that what you're that's what you're saying, right? Like it could just be
in my head, what I heard was, you're going to fill the space where the foundation and the brick is, right? And you're going to have 4 to 5 foot, shrubbery through there, and at the corner you're going to have a larger planting of some kind. And what you've thereby done in some ways is the only feature on that wall above the brick is the window at the corner. And so if then am I left with siding and landscaping and basically seeing the window at the bathroom? And are we covering up that window at the corner a little bit by a taller planting, which is appropriate? And actually what I'm saying is I think the window is still the problem and not the planting that you described, is what I'm trying to say. But I want to make sure I'm correct in understanding your plan, because you just presented it. I don't want to, misinterpret what you're saying.
I think if you go to the second presentation, Mr. Gleason addresses that window with an elevation shot and the addition of that third window. And then Sherry may be able to do an elevation showing the additional landscaping on it.
I don't see anything in the second presentation
There we
specifically.
go, right there.
Oh, there it is. Okay, found it. Great. All right, asked and answered. Okay.
It is better, isn't it?
It is better, and I'm sorry I didn't see it, but I was having some difficulty going back and forth between the options.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Mr. Anderson, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. There's a couple different drawings here, and there are a lot of great answers that I think may not be exactly, captured in the drawings, where there were some conflicts, but I'm happy with the answers. So from my perspective, if the meeting notes and minutes and all are essentially part and parcel of the approval, I'm not so sure we need to have a revised drawing to capture them, but I'd like Joe to understand if that's an acceptable way to address a concern, is to have it in the meeting minutes, but not necessarily have it changed on a drawing. An example would be just the notes about match existing, brick, and not having the new brick surface on the foundation where it was parged. Do we need a drawing to come back for that? I'm happy with the notes.
From my perspective, the meeting is recorded. It will be part of the what was agreed to, how it was explained. I think that we need to make a motion specifically related to the original submission combined with the revised submission and any additions or subtractions. But I think that the discussion is appropriate to define.
Right. That's what I was looking for. So I'll try to make a motion, and you guys can talk.
I'm sorry, Fran.
Yep.
Jen, I just would like to mention, if we will have a motion without updating drawing to come back to us, I think we still
The
need
motion
to.
hasn't been made yet, Marta, so let's figure out what the motion is first, and then we'll ask that question.
Yeah, I'm going to try to make a motion that keeps it from coming back to you, Marta.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I usually don't, but I'm gonna. So I would move that the project be approved with the understanding that the second submission and the responses in the meeting supersede the first submission in any of those items that came up as a part of the comments from the panel or the community.
Let's have you rephrase that. That you need to put some conditions in. You're approving it with conditions, with the based on the follow-up presentation, and then whatever else you'd like to see added to that follow-up presentation.
Okay, so you do want me to itemize the things that either changed in the second submission or that were
Now
said.
I can enumerate what we heard.
Mm-hmm.
We do take notes, and so if you'd like me to summarize the points that we heard, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks.
I heard that the elevation drawings need to notate the proper updating of materials. With regard to the landscape plan, to see some more evergreen material, especially at the back. And then giving more attention and more detail of the north elevation of that, I guess, master suite adjacent to the garage, so that the foundation planting does a better job of screening the foundation at that location. And I think those are the biggest things that I captured.
I think I had the same notes, Jen. Fran,
yeah.
In my opinion, well, you make the motion, but the revised drawings may have captured that.
Yeah. For instance, Jen's comment, the elevation drawings have updated material notations. Again, I don't want to have to revise the drawing for that. So,
okay.
And
if you feel the package, the follow-up package is suitable, you can recommend your approval conditioned on that updated package is, well, acceptable as submitted. Is there anything missing from that package that you all discussed?
No.
Well, let me go back and look. The updated package does not fully resolve the material comments, the comments about materials, particularly on the rear elevation relative to the brick. Again, I'm comfortable with the response.
Doesn't show that.
Right.
Right.
I'm
so
comfortable with
you
the
could
responses.
recommend approval of the updated packet condition on the elevations being updated to reflect the accurate treatment of materials.
Okay.
So you need to read that out loud.
Right. But that would have to be resubmitted to you guys then, right?
Just for administrative.
Straight. Yeah, not to us. I don't, right. Okay. All right. So then I'll move that the project submission be approved, condition on the updated drawings that we received and reviewed, and that the elevations be updated for correct material schedules and resubmitted, and that additional attention be placed on the landscape plan at the right side. I believe that's the west elevation, and the incorporation of additional evergreen material plantings in the landscape plan.
Department of Planning, is that clear enough as a motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Anderson. There's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. Sauce. So all in favor, if we could come off of mute and say aye.
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 So it is approved unanimously with the conditions that were mentioned. Thank you very much, and congratulations to the team.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll do our job and do our best.
Yeah, so
Great.
just so the applicants are aware, conditional approval means that you make those changes and submit them back to our office.
Okay.
And then we will send over, you guys are gonna have to do a zoning hearing for the setbacks, so this approval will go to the ALJ and he will render the final order.
Right. Okay. We'll get it
Okay.
over ASAP.
Great. Well, best of luck.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So we'll now
Thank you,
move
neighbors.
we'll now move to the adjournment of the board meeting. So can somebody make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Ms. Sauce. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. All in favor? Aye.
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 The motion carries. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Great.
Thank you.
you.